Hello and a very good day everyone. So today we will learn on Power Query. If you look here carefully, we do have a data which consists the date and also the respective orders. Meaning to say we have the date and then the order, the date and also the order. So basically what my manager wants is he wants a report which shows the date, which is the last date of the month, and also the particular order, which is the closing order. Meaning to say, from this given data, my manager wants the last date of the month and also the respective order. Meaning to say the date and also the closing order. So how we are going to produce from this data into two different columns, and which only shows us the last date of the month and the respective closing order. So how we are going to do it? So now let's get started. We are going to use Power Query to produce from this data into this desired report. So let's get started. So now I'll go to exercise 1. So this is our data. So what we want is we need to produce two different columns and only captures us the last date of the month. So what I need to do is I put my cursor on this data, I press Ctrl A. So once I press Ctrl A, it will highlight the entire table. And then I go to data, and then I go to get and transform data. Then I go to this icon, I click from table/range. So once I click this icon, you will notice that a small box will appear. So in this particular box, I'll press OK. The moment I press OK, it will be navigated to Power Query Editor. So as I mentioned earlier, once we press OK, it will be navigated to Power Query Editor. So now what I'm going to do is I want to do some transformation. So as you can see, this is the data. So the first step is I need to put it into two different columns, where one column for date and another column for orders. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to press add column, and I want to create an index column. The purpose is I want to create a sequencing. So I create the index column. So the index starts from 0, 1, 2. And then the next step is I also want to create another column which is divide integer. So what's the difference between divide and divide integer? Basically, in this standard feature, we can actually add data, we can multiply, we can subtract, we can divide, and we can also show the remainder. But why there is two divide? One divide is actually show us the decimal places. Another divide feature only show us the integer or the whole number. Meaning to say, when we click this, it will not show us the answer in decimal places. So I'm going to click divide integer. So once I click divide integer, you will notice a box will appear. So what number I'm going to divide? Well, I'm going to divide 2. Why I want to divide 2? Because we have date, we have order. We have date, we have order. We have date, we have order. So divide by 2 because we have two types of data. So I press OK. So now you'll notice it has segregated into respective groups. So I'm going to click index again, go to transform and click standard and choose modulo. Modulo means remainder. So I'm going to click remainder and I'm going to choose 2 and I'm going to press OK. So now you'll see there is a pattern of 0, 1, 0, 1, whereby 0 is for the date, 1 for the order. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to pivot column. So once I press pivot column and I want to do pivot column on date on orders, and I press, instead of count all, I press don't aggregate. So what happened if just say I remain count all? So when I remain count all and I press OK, so basically it will count the data. So basically I don't want to count the data, I want to don't aggregate the data. So pivot column, date and order, advanced option, instead of count all, we choose don't aggregate. And then I press OK. So now we have this particular data. We can actually remove this. And then what I'm going to do is I'll just try to rename this as the orders. Okay. And I'll rename this as the dates. Okay. So now we do have the dates and then we do have the orders. So what I want to do is I want to change this into a numbers format, which is whole number. But unfortunately, I can't change this because here we do have a mixed format. Because the data now recognizes us in a UK date format, but all of this date is basically a US date format. So what I want to do is I want to split the data. I click split column by delimiter, and then I want to split by the slash, and I press OK. So now you see it has been separated. So this is basically our months, this is the days, and also I want to split the years as well. So split column, split by delimiter, and then I want to split by space, and I press OK. So now it has split as well. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the home. I click on choose columns. So I'm going to click on choose column. So choose the date 1, date 2, date 3, but I will untick the others and I press OK. So now basically now this is the data, and then this is basically our day. So I put my day over here. So this is the day, this is the month, and this is the year. So I'm going to select shift and highlight the first 3 columns, shift and first 3 columns, and then I'll go to transform and merge column. So I'll click merge by a custom, and I'll use slash, and then I press OK. So right now it has been put in this format, and then what I'll do is I'll put this into a date format. So I'll put in date format. So here you go. So here we have the date, here we have the orders. So I can actually rename this as into date. Okay, so now we do have this data, but right now how am I supposed to show the last date of the month? Well, for this what I'm going to do is I want to duplicate another diagram. So now I'll duplicate this, and what I'll do is in this given database I want to create another 2 columns. So I click add column, go to date, and then go to year, and then choose year. So now it will show us the year, and then I click the date again, go to add column, go to date, and show us the month, and show us the month. So now we do have the month, and then what I'm going to do is I want to combine this actually. So year and month, go to transform, and then click merge column, and then I put a separator custom, and I put a dash, and then I press OK. So now you notice it has been merged basically. So we have the date, we have the order, we have the merged data for the year and month. And then what is the next step is I will go to transform, and I will click group by. So basically what I want to group by is I want to group by the merged data. So I click here merge, and then I want to group by, I want to put as maximum date. Okay, maximum date will show the last date of the month. So basically I'm go here, I'll put here max, and I'll choose the column of date, and I press OK. So once I press OK, so you will notice it shows us the last date of the month. So now what I'm going to do is I want to basically create a merge these 2 tables. So I go to home, and I click merge as new queries. Okay, merge query as new, and then what I'm going to do is I want to merge these 2 tables. So I click here table 1. So if you notice over here we do have 2 common column. So I select this max date, and I select this date. So the selection matches 3 out of 3. So I press OK. So once I press OK, so now we need to expand this table, and then what I do is I untick the date, untick this, and press OK. So now we do have this data over here, and then what I do is I just delete this column, and then I press close and load to, and I only do what? I only create connection, and I press OK. So if you notice over here, all this database has been loaded as a connection. But if just say you want to load this as a table, what you can do is you click this, right click, and then you go to load to. So you load to, instead of creating connection, you put into table, and the existing worksheet I just put it over here, and I press OK. So once I press OK, so you'll notice now it will capture us the last date of the month and the respective closing order. So if just say I add a new data, just say using an American date format, I put here May 1st 2021, and I put a data called 123, and then I show the last day of the month May 31st 2021, and I put here 345. So if you notice over here I have added two different dates and 2 different orders. So basically right now the data should able to capture the last day of the month. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put here right click, and then refresh, and then you will notice it will capture the last day of the month.